morning, all of you. Thank you, Professor Vijay Chandru, for that introduction. I'm really honored to be part of this Bengaluru Tech Summit. And especially being a Department of Space anchored at Bengaluru, I have no other option to be here, part of this Tech Summit when you conduct such an event at Bengaluru. And in space sector, a lot of things are happening. So I thought that I will focus on the R&D of India, innovation for global impact, taking an example of what is happening in space sector, and possibly this is some model that could be reproduced or some maybe copied or maybe modified to suit other tech sectors as well. Possibly you are all aware that we are getting ready for a launch tomorrow at Sriharikota by the first space startup in India. And their rocket is ready. Vikram S, though this rocket is not something that is going to launch a satellite in orbit, but this is going to be a suborbital mission. It will demonstrate that young people with a dream to build something big can actually do it in India. And we have created an ecosystem today for them to make their dreams happen, build the rocket systems using the available industries in India, and take the support of the Indian Space Research Organization, the infrastructure that we have created today to make that launch happen. Because launching a rocket is not a small play. You need a lot of support, much beyond the rocket itself, in terms of the ground stations, the tracking, the navigation, the safety, the command to destruct. All of them has to be there in place. And I'm very happy that the work we did along with InSpace, that the new mechanism that we created really created a lot of energy and enthusiasm in this sector. When you look at the R&D of India, probably you may wonder which area is really the R&D taking place. Are they really bringing technologies from outside and building it in India in terms of products realization, or the real R&D do takes place? I think some of the sectors in the recent years has really shown very, very clear examples of how R&D can really transform many of the core tech sectors. Of course, one of them is the medical sector, which is very, very evident. And of course, we were very proud about the space sector of last many years, that we were able to build rockets and spacecraft using most of the indigenous technology. Of course, we depend still on devices, especially the electronic devices, to be procured from outside. This continues to be one of the very important issues facing us in terms of building complex space systems. And really happy that the government is taking this action to create the next revolution in the electronics, especially the hardware that need to be built and done within this country. Bengaluru, especially being the technology center of design of electronic devices, but then manufacturing and production of something that we need to build for the future is still far away. I think this is one area which we identified even for the space sector to really grow in India. So let me take this opportunity to quickly go through a few slides. I thought that I won't use any slides and speak very generally, but then looking at the audience, it will be really, to really get you involved in what I am speaking. I thought that I will put some slides so that you can connect with what I am going to speak. I won't spend time on what we achieved in space sector over the many years in terms of the rockets, satellites, the science missions, and probably you are aware that we were one of those countries who were able to put a satellite around Mars in the very first attempt, and then develop it at such a very low cost, and really something fantastic. And it's equally important to look at how we are looking at the future in terms of science exploration. The possibility of launching the Chandrayaan-3 is there in few months from now. We are looking at studying sun, studying at the various celestial events, and we are also looking at joint collaboration with NASA and JAXA. But if you look at the world over, we see great changes happening in the space sector, the private space sector becoming much more thriving, the LEO constellation satellites becoming very important one in terms of the providing communication services. And even we talk about going to moon, Mars. Of course, the moon rocket has just taken off, and it's on the way to way to moon, the SLS-1, after many delays, it has been launched successfully. Now it is making those steps to go to moon. And the interest in moon is once again rekindled in terms of colonization. A lot of things happening across the globe. The space tourism really has come into place. Almost 30 plus people have become astronauts on account of the space tourism activities happening elsewhere. But the emerging space application is what is more important for us in India. If you look at very carefully, we see that data from space is something very, very important. And this data, along with analytics and the decision-making support that we can provide through space, become very important tool for which we can build technologies, business in this country. For example, I will talk about the satellite connectivity which is happening now. Probably you are all aware that the IoT revolution has already started. The data analytics tools that are available with each one of us in terms of the capability that you have in devices, it's also increasing. If you look at space satellite data, we have a lot of imageries available from satellites. The analytics still happens offline, and the decision-making process that happens using satellite data is still not real time. Of course, we have the communication network, we have the remote sensing network, we have the position and timing services networks, and all this has to come together to provide you a set of services that are required, driven by the artificial intelligence and machine learning. So this is the core of the space sector now. I'll give you some examples later how this sector is actually changing with the innovations that is taking place by the startups in India. Some of the startups which I am quoting now are SatSure, Vasundhara, Pixel, etc., really making news, especially by their activities in terms of the ability to provide solutions through the remote sensing images and analytics that you are doing in various sectors. For example, SatSure has been able to make a substantial impact how they using the satellite data for banking sector in terms of lending. Similarly, the activities done by Vasundhara and Pixel, and they are all looking at how to build their own satellites now and then launch for looking at the situation today in terms of the satellite data being very scarce commodity. We know that today the fusion is taking place in Earth observation, communication, and positioning and timing and services. And this is really affecting many of the business activity that you are doing in India and world over. Specifically, looking at the smart city concepts, where the ability to provide faster communication networks, then monitoring and surveillance activities of all what you are doing, connecting to the IoT devices, even handling business activities in terms of manufacturing, production, warehousing, delivery, etc., through the connectivity that is seamlessly going to happen through the networks that you have in place. Here, the space sector is going to play a very, very important role. I believe especially Bengaluru has great role to play in the emerging sectors related to smart cities, smart manufacturing, and connectivity solutions that we are talking about. For all this, we need to have a very thriving space sector. We know that today we have a certain number of launch vehicles decided and designed and manufactured in India. We are looking at how we can expand it in the days to come. So this not being a very core subject that we are discussing today, I won't spend much time on it. We also have to work on cutting-edge technologies for the future. Possibly you are aware, scramjet technology is one important area where we need to have this technology mastered in very short period of time, and we are working for it. This is another core area where many of those core engineering industries can invest on, and we are currently in discussion with many of them. Yet another technology is the bringing back the rocket back from space, reusability. I think this has been demonstrated by the two space companies in the world already, and we are working on how we can make use of some of the capability that we have today to develop and demonstrate reusability, and possibly this rocket can be used for space tourism and other activities. Of course, that being a very business discussion currently going on, I am not showing all those drawings and sketches, which will be definitely interesting to you if I have shown it. Another important area is developing new propulsion systems. Recently, we have tested one engine made by one of the startups in India, Agnikul Cosmos. They have done their engine manufacturing for semi-cryo engine using additive manufacturing, a single-piece engine, and we are successfully tested at one of the Isro centers. And this is again a great start for some of those people who are into the rocket business. And we are also doing in Isro developing huge engines, especially into the green and reusable propulsion technologies like LOX and methane. Green propulsion technology is definitely something very attractive. Possibly you know that the propulsion we use today are more carcinogenic, and they are also having impact on environment, especially the type of solid propellants that we use. It's important that we move from propulsion which are more green in nature. There is a continuous effort to generate and create green propulsion technologies. Similarly, the propulsion technologies related to electric propulsion is already there in spacecrafts world over, but in India, the work on electric propulsion is being done by one company in Bengaluru, and their name is Bellatrix. They have developed this thruster in Indian Institute of Science campus. I was fortunate to see the thruster being fired just 2 days back, and I can tell you, young people in India are capable of building these technologies within this country using the materials and knowledge that we have today in India. Similarly, we need to graduate ourselves to build much higher thrust electric propulsion devices. I'm really happy to note that same activities are happening in various institutions in this country, not in Isro. I want to tell you specifically, this is something that is happening outside Isro. Similarly, we are working on how to use nuclear fuel as the propulsion devices in terms of energy generation, for example, for long duration travel, as heaters when you have faced with extreme low temperatures in space. These technologies are required. In India, there is a company who is actually working on it, and we are in discussion with them to source it from them for using our rockets and spacecraft, which you will hear in the news in few days from now. We are working on small rockets. Again, small rockets are very, very important because the access to space for small players is very, very important. For a company starting to build a satellite, and they are looking for a launch opportunity, many a time that's not available because the bigger players will decide when they will launch, where they will go, which orbit they will go. So the market for small rockets are emerging, and many of them are working on small rocket technology. So we are looking at how to build small rockets, but also use additive manufacturing as very important element. And this is another tech domain in manufacturing sector in India. Many of the people, including startups, started working on additive manufacturing. Though this initially it started coming from outside the country, today I can tell you there are at least 2 companies in India who is actually manufacturing the machines for additive manufacturing. And this is something really wonderful. And one of the startup company recently inaugurated their additive manufacturing facility using a company which manufactures the machine in India. An MOU signed by them indicates that they want to work on additive manufacturing in space. And this is the revolution that is happening in India, and I am very happy that many of the startups are picking up ideas from additive manufacturing as well. Similarly, another technology domain is the energy sector, building batteries, energy storage devices for the future. Possibly you know that this domain is already attracting a lot of world attention, specifically connected to the mobility domain, cars, etc., becoming very affordable today to have long duration endurance. So the battery technology becomes very important. And there are a lot of things which I don't go into it. Those who are interested can really research and find out the type of work that we do in Isro. And we are ready to transfer whatever we are doing today to the startups and companies who are interested to work on futuristic energy storage devices. And there is a huge amount of market available for such devices, especially in the domain of mobility, long duration energy storage, and also in sectors where high energy storage devices are very critical, including drones, etc. Material development and design is very, very crucial for the country. I don't have to stress for it because many developments that are taking place today, especially in the area of ceramics, dielectrics, high temperature materials, high strength materials, carbon fibers, these things are the feeders for our future. Maybe some of the rare earth materials for magnetic devices, etc. Today we are dependent so much on the import of these materials for our technical work and also engineering work in this country. And there is a focused attention given by government on how to bring capability in these sectors in various domains. course, it has stopped going. I think the time is up maybe. It has. No, it's okay. Okay, it goes. Another domain, of course, is the carbon fiber technology, which we are still dependent on a lot of import. And I will urge many of the industries who are here, representatives who are here, we need to work on this domain. And government is really looking for partnership in building raw materials in this country in terms of the carbon fibers. Similarly, the electronic devices. Electronic device is another domain where there is a strong capability of designing existing in India, especially those highly integrated circuits and ASICs, etc. But manufacturing still far away, especially in the domain of the high-end electronic devices. But whatever I showed are some of the devices which we are able to manufacture in this country using the available industries and their capabilities. It's really happy to note that they are already into the space sector, satellites and launch vehicles. And even I can tell you, the computer that runs our rocket is actually manufactured in India. The processor comes out of SCL, Chandigarh, and they are making the computer, and that is what is powering our rockets and not the one which is imported. But then the capability is still very low, and it has to be expanded to the higher capability nodes, and we need to work on this for the future. Robotics, of course, robotics definitely is an important sector. This not only for space, but also for terrestrial applications, manufacturing, remote controlled activities. And we are working in space sector to trigger this action in various sectors. We are working on humanoids. We are working on tethered robotics. Of course, looking at docking and other activities which you can demonstrate. And we look at it not as a production item, but as a capability demonstration, enabling startups, and we are willing to transfer whatever capability that we have to the industries. Probably you are aware that the space debris is a very major point, and we are looking at how we can bring back many of the defense satellites, deorbit them using these technologies, sometimes use them for refueling, repurpose those satellites. All those activities are possible once you develop this robotic technology. So this is some high priority item within our activities today. I will skip some of the topics such as quantum technologies, because this domain is emerging still, and we are working on this quantum technologies specifically for domains where we need to have encryption, and we are looking at how we can manufacture and launch a quantum key distribution satellite for our future secured communication network. And I can tell you in India, at least two, three laboratories are very actively working on it, and there is a quantum project driven by the government of India, funded sufficiently to take this activity forward. And this is another domain where many of the startups and industries will have an opportunity to work on many devices. For example, the optical communication devices, the quantum algorithms which are required, the computational algorithms which are required, etc. Drones, of course, all of you know drones are the key thing, and government has already opened up this sector, and it is playing very important role in various domains that we know today. And we are looking at how space can really enable drone revolution. When you have thousands of drones flying across, and then we need somebody to control the traffic, regulate them, monitor them, surveil them, possibly space sector will definitely become one of the important tools for doing this. But I don't have to speak about drones in this sector. I think many of you are already aware, and there is already an exhibition where drones are already displayed. Recovery from space, of course, we are working on. I won't spend time on it. We also work on various other disruptive technologies. Of course, due to the paucity of time, I won't spend time on them. But I can only tell you that those who have interested to work in technology sectors in various domains, including materials, manufacturing, research and development in space sector, we are going to announce an opportunity for you to come and bid for it. And this will be one of the important initiative that the government will be taking to work in space sector. Possibly you are aware that recently there was a 75 space tech announcement in the defense side, and there are a lot of takers for it. And we are also going to do the same thing for the civilian space sector, and also applications for startups and companies to come, where there will be a seed funding from the government itself as an anchor seed funding for enabling the startups to come and work in this sector. I am very clear that the space technology has its own role to play in the future in various activities, including communication, remote sensing, connectivity, and also revolutionize the entire manufacturing, learning, communication, strategy, monitoring networks through the interconnectivity between space solutions that we already have. And this is really a very interesting domain that all of you can spend time and understand and then invest and then work in the future. Thank you.